Hey, you're watching Driver 88. Today I am quite excited because I'm getting to drive one of the cars that I have loved the look and the sounds of for many years. It is the Aston Martin Rapide S. Thanks to my friends at Lorbek Luxury Cars, I'm able to drive this thing with a 5.9 litre V12, 550 horsepower, and the sort of sedan that you do not see in any marquee these days at all. Back in the day, it cost over 400,000 Australian dollars. Today, you can get one for over $250,000 less, so over 65% less than the original price. I'm going to take it for a drive today and see that it's potentially worth less than the cost of a new M3. It certainly looks fantastic. Let's head on down to Lorbek right now and drive this thing. But this is not the best ingress and egress. Okay, the rear seats of a Rapide S. I feel like I'm sitting in a front sports seat already. These seats look fantastic, and for a car with 60,000 or so kilometers, I can tell you that the interior of this car has held up incredibly well. The leather and all the interior bits, some people have said that those bits are not as high quality as they should be. We've got rear screens here, probably not really worth using from 2014, but two cup holders. All of these touch points, they do feel premium. They feel really nice. And you can change your heated or cooled seats if you wish. And I really like the design. However, this is pretty squishy. Like, my knees are up quite high. My head is just touching the roof and I'm 5'10". I don't think you would want too long a journey in here. You've got a decent amount of luggage space, of course. I think this is really just a great grand tourer, maybe for two people to have a long weekend, maybe a nice trip that you could take for a few days and have a decent amount of space in the back and luggage. But what I do like is the unique styling. It's just all Aston Martin, premium, touch points everywhere. All right, we need to just leave this guy on trickle charge for a little while, but this interior I'm such a fan of. The aluminium feels so premium on these doors. The Bang & Olufsen sound system, of course, the classic tweeters look very premium. These dials, look, everything is digital now. Arguably two of the best looking dials in motoring history, I think. Aston Martin leather steering wheel. We can get rid of some of that gloss on there. That's not the most amount of fun, but you know what I also like? These touch points, aluminium, and when you just close everything, it's just this little bit of magnetism to stuff, and it feels so nice. All of the dials, I love touching them as well. They feel cold to the touch, not just cheap plastic. And of course, that classic Aston key entry looks awesome. Look, the tech is not going to be there. Forget this screen, forget about it. You're buying a 10-year-old Aston because you're looking for an experience, right? Things that you touch, feel, and see. That's what it's all about. And of course, the driving experience as we take the car out for a drive in just a moment. So there are two, I guess, main important reasons why the Rapide just piques my interest so much. One is, of course, the enormous length. It's over 5 meters long, this car. Has an incredible sculpture to it, designed by Marek Reichman. This sort of generation of Astons I love so much. The lights, reminiscent of the first Vanquish and I guess DB9. These slats at the front. From this angle where I'm looking, looks just incredible, like an enormous sort of great white shark. The rear seats, we've just sat in the back of them. They are a little bit, I guess, tight to get in and out with the ingress and egress. We're going to take this thing for a drive down there, and it's all about the sound, the 5.9 litre V12. So let's get a little bit of a drive review. Otherwise, let me know what you think. You will never see sedans this large anymore and of this style. Everything has gone to SUVs, and we're just left with this sort of beauty that is now no longer with us. So, I have never driven an Aston Martin V12 before, so not only is it my first Rapide that I've driven, it's the first V12 Aston Martin. This one is the S version, which means we get 550 horsepower with 620 Newton meters of torque, and it sounds brilliant. Even just starting it up is an event all in itself. We've got the 6-speed ZF gearbox. This came out with an 8-speed ZF in later years. The first thing that kind of draws my attention in driving the Rapide S is how heavy the steering is. You get a decent amount of feel actually, which is missing from most modern cars these days, but it's incredibly heavy. So this Rapide, even though it's so large and long, is just on 2 tons. Again, most modern cars these days, like say 5 Series or an E-Class, if it's got a V8 in it, they're now pushing 2.2 tons or more, so it's not enormously heavy. The feedback from the V12 is really nice as well. Really nice response, even just driving around town. Oh. Now we've got a few different modes here. Put it into sport mode if you wish. You can make the suspension a little bit more aggressive, but I think this car is all about enjoying long miles as a Grand Tourer. I'm instantly starting to like this car. I've driven so many cars recently, from BMW, Mercedes, even Lamborghini, etc. in the last couple of months, and I've been disappointed with a few of them, but I feel like this car definitely has character. It's one of those, there's something special about cars that you can drive slowly but still are really satisfying, and that's what this is. It starts with the engine, but for some reason the steering is just, yeah, making me feel some sort of way. I kind of wish that you could put the steering wheel a little bit closer to you. There's not a large amount of I guess telescopic range in the steering wheel, but I just like the way this car gets up and goes. Now I've got the suspension in the normal mode, and we can put it in sport, but for our crappy Australian roads, I think it's best to just have it in the normal mode, to be honest. What's the turning circle like? Not as bad as I thought it would be. power delivery is so smooth. I mean, this car really should be on the Autobahn, I think. These analog silver dials, they do kind of remind me of a Rolex in a way. Really, really cool. And if you're ever concerned about fuel consumption, this is definitely not the car for you. I would not be considering this guy if you ever care about how much fuel your car is going to be sipping. There's also not that much body roll, so in driving this thing you would think it might drive like a little bit of a barge, but it still feels like a sports car, just an elongated one. Right, shall we do some sport mode driving? Now I'm not sure. Whoa. And suddenly the Rapide comes alive. This ZF 6-speed is really not bad at all. It's actually been responding better than what I thought it might. I recently drove a completely different car, but an 8-speed ZF in a Jaguar, and was quite terrible. But this, it's good in sport mode. I am quite impressed. I feel like this Rapide could get quite entertaining quite quickly. If only I could get redline here, because once you get to about, say, 5,000 RPM, there's nothing like an Aston Martin V12, and they really are something special. Lovely. There's the sounds. Now what, I'm kind of in two minds about these seats, right? So they don't have much lumbar support, and they are arguably a bit too aggressive for a Grand Tourer car, but I still like them. But I'm not sure how my my lower back's going to feel after, say, a 2 or 3 hour sort of Grand Touring experience where I go away for a weekend out to the country with maybe a significant other and enjoy this car. But I do like the amount of side support they have, and they're relatively sporty. I'm not sure if the Rapide ever had more of a comfort seat option, but I'm not sure if they're going to suit every person, especially some of the senior people you often see in Aston Martins. So I absolutely love the analog dials in this car. They remind me a bit of a Rolex watch, to be honest. And you'll notice that atop the dial it goes to 330 kilometers per hour, and this car will apparently do 306. I do not doubt that though. I honestly do not doubt that. This is another one of those cars that I don't think this ever came with a manual transmission, but I think it would make this car even more exciting to drive and have even more character if it did come with a manual trans. Oh man. Okay, I kind of get the Aston Martin thing now. For a long time I sort of didn't get it, but now I kind of get it. What I also can tell is this car is not going to just perform without a decent amount of my input. It's not going to be one of those cheat code cars where it just handles flawlessly for you. You're going to have to really work for getting an apex properly and getting the maximum amount of performance out of it. Alright, count me in for Aston Martin V12s. Maybe not the twin turbo versions, but this one's so cool. If you're a car guy, you might relate to my experience right now. Sometimes you drive a car and you know that it might be quite expensive to service. You know that you might have some issues with it. You know that potentially it might not be the most practical car that you can buy, but there's just something about it. Something about the way that it sounds and looks and drives that just tells you that you really want to buy it. And I think that the Rapide is one of those cars. I don't know what it is, but something about it just speaks to me, this car. So the Rapide S, I truly can't believe how much I've enjoyed driving this car. It has so much more character than I thought it did. Yes, there's some things that you certainly need to think about in owning one of these, but it's probably not going to be your only weekend vehicle. The V12, the looks, the handling, there's just something about it. Most definitely the head says no, but for some reason the heart says yes, especially given it's $250,000 cheaper than when it first was released. So this is driver 88, this is the Rapide S. Take one for a drive, see for yourself. We'll see you next time.